Do they teach true things in gender studies?
Yeah. It's more historical facts. It's not, I'm using it for psychology. That's my personal use. But it's more history about gender and sexualities, like different cultures and how they view it. And their idea of gender and sexuality is it's not really about personal opinions. It's more just history.
Okay, young man, where are we today?
Washington Square Park, New York City.
A fine place. And are you a student here?
Yes, NYU.
NYU, a fine institution.
Yes, very much.
And are you from New York, sir?
Yes, sir. Burnside, the Bronx.
Wow, I used to live in the Bronx.
No way, that's what's up.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so today we're going to do the claim NYU should abolish its gender and sexuality courses. Everybody know the rule of the game, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. Okay, tell them why you strongly disagree.
My major is actually in gender and sexuality studies. I'm doing a double major and that in psychology. And I was using that major to get to a point to help kids, especially kids going through like transition, stuff like that, to know where their headspace is and to know the idea of gender and sexuality and to know how I can help kids like that through times like this, because I don't know as much as I should about gender and sexuality. I don't think anyone does. I think...
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Tell them what you mean by help them through a transition. What does that mean?
So like if a kid comes up to me and like is saying that they're having struggles with their gender identity, I want to have the knowledge to support them and be the therapist that they need to work through something like that. I'm also minoring in like child and adolescence mental health. So like I'm really going to, I'm pretty sure I'm going to focus on children.
Okay.
So I know that's like a really like, it's an important part, especially now in our culture, gender and sexuality. And I also feel like, I think it's really helpful to know about even like the opposite gender.
Okay.
Like I don't really know a lot about like men. So like something like that would be really interesting to learn about.
So I would say, I understand everything that you're saying about, there are obviously kids that are out there that are very confused. It's a confusing time and people trying to figure out where they should be in the world and how to orient themselves with their sexuality and their gender. I would say more so like towards the courses point, I don't understand why it has to be like sort of a separate field than just a psychological field in general. I see it as sort of like psychology is like an umbrella and, these types of issues all go underneath that umbrella. I think to make it its own set of courses and to really like hyper fixate on it, I'm just not sure there's quite like the depth in the subject to like produce like academia on the same level as like you would for another major or like another set of courses.
Really? Like, so, you moved. Why did you move?
So I first started off on slightly disagree, mainly because all information is good information, but too much of anything is bad, right? So I agree with both of you on what you guys said, but the umbrella example was perfect. So
Perfect in what way?
When something doesn't have as much depth as you want it to, then like you might be going around in circles or, like you might just dig yourself into a hole. But what I do respect in general is that psychologically, when it comes to like transitioning, especially like little kids, like there are a lot of drawbacks, that like people don't, necessarily think about, read into, and overall, it's very tricky for different cultures, different ethnicities. Like I'm Dominican, so being any type of anything else than straight, that's already like a big shift. So transitioning.
You mean here or there?
Well, here. I switched my stance to neutral because, although the umbrella, perfect example again, I don't know, I just, very nice talking right now. I like it.
Okay, I'm curious about something. In your classes, do they
I haven't taken any yet.
Oh, you haven't taken any yet?
No.
Oh, you're just beginning?
Yes. And I will say, I agree with the umbrella term, but it is under social and cultural analysis, just so you know. It's like a history. It's not a psychology course. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry if that was confusing. Yeah.
Do they teach true things in gender studies?
Yeah. It's more historical facts. It's not. I'm using it for psychology. That's my personal use. But it's more history about gender and sexualities, like different cultures and how they view it, and their idea of gender and sexuality is it's not really about personal opinions, it's more just history. So like on an informational standpoint, I thought that was also interesting about gender and sexuality, but I do agree with the umbrella thing.
Okay, so the best reason you think it shouldn't be abolished is what? The best reason?
I think the best reason is just information. I told you why I personally wanted it for psychology, but I think it's just a really fun history class. I don't think it's really trying to pursue or persuade anyone opinion-wise.
Do you think it's inherently ideological?
Yeah, I would say so. Ideological in the sense where it's just like pure facts.
Where it's not like it. Do you think that the goal is to kind of to forward certain conclusions?
I think maybe some of the courses could be, but I don't really know the courses that well, I'm going to be honest. But I do think it's supposed to be history. Like I'm taking the class now, the 101 class, and it's purely just about history, about government, about the institutions that have been established and that are in the history. So like, I don't think it's about ideas and opinions.
Okay, go back to the neutral. Go back to the neutral. There is a true nature of gender and sexuality regardless of culture. Let me repeat that. There is a true nature of gender and sexuality regardless of culture. In other words, there's something to be wrong about. Move.
Okay, regarding sexuality first, I guess, I think it's, well established at this point that, your sexual orientation is something that's inherent to you, part of your nature. We know people don't choose to be, attracted to the types of people that they're attracted to. Regarding gender's become kind of a strange term where I know, like, a lot of the time it's applied to, like, a certain mindset, but speaking about it in the traditional sense, as it applies to sex, I think there's two sexes that are present throughout all cultures, throughout all of human history, and that just seems to be a truism.
Do you agree?
I agree with the sexuality, and I agree kind of with the gender, but I think that's like, you kind of talked about it, it's asking about gender and not sex. I agree sex is like set in stone, you're what you're born as, but I think gender, it's like, it's what you make it as and what you believe that you are, and that's why like it grows as you evolve as a person and as you like individually determine who you are.
Anybody can self-identify as anything they want. Move.
Can I also be on agree or no?
Yes. So why do you agree?
It's kind of difficult to go against another human being's state of mind or ideologies when they've already accepted something inside of them. Now, when it comes to educating them on something that they aren't too well endowed in, like, oh, you didn't know this, but you knew this, I think it's just difficult to argue with people like, oh, I like ketchup or I like mustard. But when somebody is already well, like, anchored down on something, it's kind of like the shrug of the shoulders. Like,
oh, okay,
I'll tell you this, and then I'll tell you this, but you'll still walk away with the same ideologies. So, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I like the idea of people being able to express themselves however they want, but when it comes to an actual question of like identity, I think your identity is a complex thing that like oftentimes a person doesn't even understand like their own identity, but I don't think it's something that you can fluidly change just like and bend to your own will. Like, you're not something because you want to be that thing or, because it would make you feel good to be a certain thing. You are something because, there are certain things that are truisms that...
Okay. All right, go back to the neutral. Anybody can identify as any gender they want. Move. Next claim. Anybody can Oh, did you move?
Yeah, my bad.
Okay. Anybody can identify as any race they want. Move. Anybody can identify as any age they want. Move. Anybody can identify as any height they want. Move.
Me too. I wish. Me too.
Anybody can identify as any sex they want. Move. You guys all strongly disagree that anybody can identify as any sex they want.
Nah, I'm gonna go back.
Free sex?
Any sex.
I'll do like disagree.
If I don't do it, then
Yeah, you disagree that anybody can identify as any sex.
I only disagree instead of strongly disagree because I think then you can like make the claim of like I think biologically you're always going to be the sex that you are, duh. But I think like then you can kind of like go into like the medical field of it, of transitioning. If we're going to be talking about transitioning specifically, like then you can be like, well, like are you still not the same sex if you got like a uterus transplant? Because they do that now. They're able to do that in the medical field, which is really interesting.
Okay, I have a question. Individuals have an obligation to recognize and call people by their preferred pronouns. Move. You remain neutral.
I think about it in a way as you don't have to do anything or you don't have to go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you want me to call you whatever, I can if I choose to. But at the same time, I'm choosing to.
Okay. All right, new claim. Identifying as a different sex changes your gender in reality. Identifying as a different sex changes your gender in reality. Move. Okay, why are you neutral?
It's a confusing thought process to go through, frankly. I'm just trying to work out what that would mean.
Yeah, it's tough. It's
in
tough. It's
yeah,
tough.
in reality, what that would mean. I guess it would be someone transition to another sex physically, maybe, and then if they biologically transitioned, does it follow that like their gender, their like psychology follows that? I'm not sure, frankly. Yeah, I don't know. I have a really tough time speaking about gender just because it seems like a very abstract concept to me. I think it's a lot easier to talk about sex. Whether or not your actual psychology changes with the way that your body changes, I don't really know the literature on that.
New claim. One's gender is empirically testable. One's gender is empirically testable. Move. You can test. We can run a test to figure it out if it's true. What they say.
It's a test? Can I see the test?
Yeah, you can. You can test it somehow.
Oh, somehow. How?
Well,
I don't
know.
think it's
Brain
true because
test or some kind of test.
I just think it's like, at that point, it's just like make believe. So I don't know.
What gender?
No, the test. I don't know what test you're talking about.
Let's say that
this
you
is,
could
like,
look in someone's
hypothetical.
brain. Let's say that you
Okay.
could look in someone's brain, fMRI, what have you. Some tests we
Yeah,
don't
I
have.
think it's
yeah.
psychological. I don't think it's like fake. If that's what the question is.
Is there a way to figure out, like,
There is no way to figure out.
there is no way?
No.
So
no,
there's-
I mean there is.
Oh,
It's
what is it?
Gender dysphoria.
Oh, so it's a dysfunction.
A disorder.
It's a disorder.
Yeah. It's when someone they're born into one sex, and when they look at their body, and especially it happens a lot during puberty, most of the time it happens then, the person feels dysphoria towards their body, towards who they are, and they don't really know why. And then they can start to experience gender euphoria when it comes to experiencing things that they agree with gender-wise.
Okay, all right. Have either of them said things today that you agree with?
I think some things have been said that we probably have common ground on, I would say. Definitely when it comes to like the validity of studying history and psychology as fields, I think that's important, and it's important to study all demographics and make sure they're all represented within history and within those courses. On the question of the original question, whether or not they should have their own individual courses, I still am going to have to disagree with that because
If you could be assured that they were less influenced by ideology, would that sway you?
absolutely, it would.
Going back to the original claim, NYU should abolish its gender and sexuality courses. Did you find any points of agreement with him, or did you find any points of agreement with her?
Oh yeah, of course. I agree with him. I agree with.
About what?
Well, what you said about history, understanding all demographics of what you're learning and what you're absorbing. To go back to the original question, I still feel like you should keep certain new, especially something that's new and difficult to understand when it comes to parents, grandparents, even the people that are teaching you, anybody you see crossing the street. So you should keep things around that can at least enlighten and help people further understand something that's difficult to bring out, at least. So just because it doesn't have as much depth as your umbrella example, doesn't mean it shouldn't be explored to benefit the difficulties of the people that transition and regret it, the people that commit suicide after transitioning, and then the struggles of just being gay under certain households and being any other type of way that is redeemed normal in your accustomed box of your home and your culture.
I'll give you final sentence. One sentence to conclude.
Go NYU.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you.